from the News Channel 5 Network. This is Que-pasa-Nashville.
Bienvenidos and welcome to Que-pasa-Nashville. My name is Christina Allen and thank you for joining us. I'm excited to introduce you to someone I just met recently. His name is Michael Spalding. He's the founder of the Equal Chance for Education. Thank you very much, Michael, for being here. And we have Tabitha Sukdale. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And a candidate from his foundation, a recipient who is receiving grant money to go to college. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Well, let's start with you, Michael. Michael,
Good.
I remember when this came out about a few years ago, someone as yourself who decided to start a nonprofit, and I would love you to tell me what is the nonprofit and how did you come up with it?
Well, as you know, the name of our organization is Equal Chance for Education. We started 2 years ago. We just had a 2-year birthday this month, and we are providing scholarships for undocumented students. Our mission statement is to enable opportunities for higher education without regard to race, religion, or nationality.
Wow, that's huge. So
Yeah,
that's a big thing to do here in Tennessee.
Yeah, so we're enjoying it. As I say, we've learned a lot in 2 years. We currently have 47 students attending 5 area universities, and they're doing awfully well. We're very proud of their track record. The 47 all returned. We've had no dropouts, and their GPA last year was 3.42.
Wow, that's pretty good. So let's back up a little bit.
All right.
What gave you the incentive to think of this as a foundation? Someone as yourself, a surgeon by trade,
Yes.
And realize, hey, this is important to you and to our community.
Yeah, well, I think education is the key to success for many of us. And I had watched a young lady grow up in our home. Her mother worked for us, and I watched her daughter growing up and said, where is your daughter going to go to college? And she said, well, it's so expensive, we're not sure that's going to work out. I said, well, where did she apply? And she had applied to Lipscomb and to the state school, Nashville State. So I said, well, community colleges I thought were made to be so reasonable and so affordable. Let me go see what I can do. So I went over and said, I'd like to prepay for a friend's daughter.
Wow, that's a huge commitment.
They said, great, that's good. And I said, I'd like to pay for 2 years in advance. I said, about how much will that be? And they said $7,000.
And this was at Nashville State?
Nashville State. I said, well, great, that's fine. And they said, tell us her name, and I did. They said, oh, wait just a minute, let's check. I said, no, I'm sorry, it'll be $28,000.
Wow.
And I said, and why would that be? They said, well, she's not considered a Tennessean. So she arrived in Tennessee when she's 2 months old. She's 19. Where's she from if she's not from Tennessee? Well,
and at this point, did you realize she was undocumented, or had it crossed your mind?
It never
crossed your.
Sorry to say, the light bulb came on. I didn't realize what the problem was till that moment. And so I just backed out and I said, we'll reconsider our options.
So they considered her being from a different country, and she would have to pay out-of-state tuition, which
considered international student.
International.
Quadrupled
it, okay.
28,000 versus 7.
Wow.
And my daughters, for example, could go for free now, as you know, because they have a B average, they go for free. So that was.
Did it hit you hard?
Pretty big moment.
What made you go, wait a minute, this is not right?
Well, it just seemed totally unfair. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go back home and review our options. And I went back and talked to her mom and said, where else was she admitted? She said, Lipscomb. And I said, well, if we're going to spend this much money, let's send her to Lipscomb.
Okay.
So I said, well, that's good. So I didn't think too much about it. I went back a couple more days later. It was in December. Hard to get people to have surgery in December.
So you had time to do it. Yeah, thank you.
To pursue this. So I said, are there other students in this same situation? I didn't even know. She said, there's so many. She said, last year's valedictorian is cooking hamburgers. So I said, well, let me go talk to him. Could he come over? So he came up, and met him on December 23rd. January, we had him in school.
Wow.
And so this is kind of fun, you know, and I thought, I'm an old guy, and I've suddenly got 2 kids back in college again. I might need some help. So that's why we decided to form
a 501c3.
501c3, a nonprofit.
And you went from 2 years ago, maybe having 2 to 3 students, to having 47.
47 now.
And and Tabitha, you're one of these students. And tell me, how did you find out about Equal Chance for Education?
So I was having a lot of problems in Florida, because that's where I'm from, just trying to get into school and just being able to afford it.
And let's back up a second. You are undocumented?
I am.
Tell me, kind of back up, and how did you come to Florida being undocumented?
So my parents had bought a house in Florida, and so they pay mortgage and property taxes and things of that nature. But I was not able to go to school while I was living in the Caribbean because of some other immigration problems. And
that's where you're usually from?
Yes,
okay.
I'm from the Caribbean. And our green card was actually in processing. Like, my green card has been in for 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so just getting legal advice and talking to our lawyers, they said, you know, it would make sense to come over since you have a visa, go have me start high school, and to just go ahead and start this life. And by the time you're finished in high school, then you should have your green card. But that hasn't been the case. And so it's just been kind of rough.
So did you know when you graduated or that was going to make a huge difference in your pursuing a college degree?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I wasn't able to go to school for 2 years after high school.
And so, but as you started, I mean, in reading your bio, very driven, and understood that, okay, let me get the most of every day and every opportunity. And kind of tell me about that, and what was your mindset in doing that? Because eventually, I think you knew you were going to end up somewhere educated, just because I think that was in your drive, but how did you deal with it on a day-to-day?
By not being able to go to school for that time period. It was daunting at first, you know, because like you said, I'm very driven, and I like to be in school, and I like to be busy. But I just focused my attention on the community. I did a lot of work at Rotary International, and so I would just try to see what I can do in the community with helping with human trafficking and helping with the homeless populations in Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow. So how did you get connected to Tribeca, and how did you get connected to Equal Chance for Education?
Okay, so I was doing a lot of public speaking. I've actually been to Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill to speak about my story. And
being an undocumented student,
yes,
okay.
Right. And I was just doing a lot of public speaking at secular locations and at churches. And this one pastor at this church, you know, he was a Nazarene pastor, and he knew people at Tribeca, and that's how I got connected.
Wow.
By applying. And I wasn't able to afford the complete tuition, although they gave me scholarships despite me being undocumented. And then they connected me with Dr. Spalding to see if anything could work out through that way.
And so when you look at a candidate like herself, very driven, amazing grades. I think you had a 4.3 or something in high school.
I didn't know you could even do that.
I know. These are AP classes, which of course an IB, which we have here, which allows you to have a lot of courses as you enter college. You meet someone like this, and does it remind you that this is what it's all about?
This is it.
This is it.
This is what we all hope to have in the United States, an equal chance. So
as we realize, you know, and I know you know this information, and maybe this is new to you, Tennessee's Hispanic growth has really been noticeable in the last 20 to 25 years. And most of those that are coming over undocumented, my mother's from Mexico, I was born in New Mexico, but just knowing how many undocumented are here, and they're going through our school system at a very young age, whether they came over at 2 months or 2 years, they are graduating from our schools. Right now, 25% of Metro students are of Latin descent. So I don't know what percentage of those are undocumented, but we know there's a handful, or more than a handful. And so how do we continue? You can't send everyone to college. So what is your challenges, and what are the opportunities?
Well, our hope is that this will be a little subset of folks that we can follow and see what would happen having sent them to college. That's going to take a little time for that
to track their success, yes.
That's going to take a little time to play out. But as you probably know, that if we have twins, one goes to college and one does not, and they meet back up at age 65, the college graduate made $1 million more in earnings than the non-college graduate.
And we also know that the quality of life is also...
They're also going to pay taxes. They're going to pay for my retirement and yours. They're going to pay for our Social Security, our roads, and so on. They're going to be much better citizens. It's hard to give back if you don't have anything to give. So they're going to be better citizens. As you know, there are 11 million undocumented people living among us in the United States, and we're not going to be able to send 11 million people back. It's 3% of our population.
And so let me kind of back up, and when I first read about you, your headline in the Tennessean was "Republican from Belle Meade funding undocumented." You know, I got to bring that up for the sense that that is very, I mean, that's a huge issue. That's a challenge that we face within our different parties' political system. And how has that been a challenge?
Well, I'm not a big Trump supporter, as you might imagine.
Yeah, so, but it'd take you to take, not that you would otherwise, but you saw firsthand how it had affected you and the people you love.
Well, I believe there are a lot of people in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party that feel the same way that I do, and that is, this is a country of immigrants. There are some Native Americans, and I give talks, I always say, if there's a Native American here, please stand and let us thank you for joining you in your beautiful land.
And I'm from New Mexico and Taos, so I grew up with the Native Americans. Thank you for saying that.
But the rest of us are immigrants, and it doesn't make any difference to me if you came across the Rio Grande or the Atlantic, or it doesn't make any difference. We are a country of immigrants. So how are we going to say we're going to pull the ladder up, and if you didn't get on board in time, then we're going to keep you in the service sector and make sure you can't go to school?
Well, especially when we need someone like Tabitha who's so driven with grades and just understanding that she could be so much more than just flipping hamburgers. We're going to take a quick break, Michael and Tabitha, and we're going to be right back with que-pasa-nashville as we talk about the opportunities and challenges Latinos bring to Middle Tennessee, and especially about this issue of undocumented being able to go to college. We'll be right back.